According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the word masterpiece means a work done with extraordinary skill or a piece of work presented to a medieval guild as evidence of qualification for the rank of master. Now, if you've ever watched Kobe Bryant play, especially during his prime, even if you haven't and you just like searched up his highlights, I think there's no other word that kind of encapsulates his overall game than the word masterpiece. His arsenal was flawless. He honestly, in his prime, he could do everything. He could dribble, he could pass, he could shoot. If you just watch the way he could stop on a dime, pump fake 2 or 3 times, fade away in your face, 2 hands in his face, and still knock the shot down. The incredible amount of skills that requires is insane. It's insane. Might not be like the most efficient or best shot he could have taken, but not many people in the world could take that shot and hit it on a consistent basis. I remember there was one year where Kobe Bryant just bulked up a bit. He looked a bit thicker, a bit more muscular, and he really made it a point to like do everything from the post. His post game, his footwork was better than anyone else at the time as well. And remember, this was before like bigs were on the perimeter shooting threes. This was when a lot of bigs still were operating in the post, like Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan. Kobe Bryant as a guard, he would go in the post and he would drop step, he would turn around, fade away just like MJ did. And in 2014, Nike put out a colorway that was a tribute to his masterful game. Nike Kobe 9 Elite Pro Tro Masterpiece. Now the shoe is dropping on February 8th for $240 in the United States. February 8th was actually the original release date 10 years ago, 11 years ago now actually, that this colorway originally dropped. Of course, this is a Pro Tro version of that shoe. Pro Tro meaning performance retro. Kobe Bryant actually was the one that came up with that term. He didn't want to just retro shoe, he wanted a performance retro shoe. And first impressions of the shoe, out of all the Kobe 9 colorways, you got the Beethoven, got the Christmas that came out very recently, you got the Halo that also came out recently. This one is actually part of the Year of the Mamba pack, whatever Nike is calling it. You have this shoe, you got the other 2 Kobe 5 Pro Tros. I think the colorway is really nice. This very kind of rainbow, bold, funky colors. That might be a little bit too much for some people, but the amount of black that's used on the shoe I think is really well done. Just gives this shoe a very sleek and like, I don't know, it just looks really nice. I really like the brushstroke patterns that you'll see on the shoe, which I'll get to later. And in terms of the shoe itself, I know a lot of people actually don't like how high the shoe is. They don't like the Kobe 9s, they like the Kobe 9 lows, not the highs. But personally, for me as a kid of the 90s and the early 2000s, high cut basketball shoes was pretty much the norm. I'm always gonna have some nostalgia for like high ankle cuts on a sneaker on the court. So yeah, I really like it. I'm glad this shoe is back. And the Kobe 9 does come with a Flyknit upper, and you see a very, very colorful upper. It's kind of kaleidoscopy. I'm not quite sure exactly the best term to describe the combination of colors on this shoe, but it is still very, very sleek. Even though it is very colorful, I still think actually, because of the heavy amounts of black that's on the shoe, I still think it is actually quite wearable on the court. The silhouette is not the best for like casual use, but I think the colors actually aren't too bright, too loud. And you'll see like a thin TPU overlay kind of around the swoosh, right above the midsole here. And it's got this kind of brush stroke pattern, kind of like a painting when like artists paint like a masterpiece. Very, very subtle detail, very nice there. And then the swoosh itself, you'll see that is actually like 3M material. That is the same as the original Kobe 9s on the Halo colorway. They actually made this like its own piece, gives it a more kind of luxurious and upscale feeling. But this one is actually the same as the original. They didn't change that there. And then moving around the booty of the shoe, you see 9 lines. That number 1 is for Kobe 9. And the other thing this represents the stitches that Kobe Bryant got after he injured his Achilles. And they decided to use the recovery journey of that terrible injury and place it as part of the storytelling of the shoe. And then at the top, just in case you forget what shoe you're wearing, it says KB 9th. Now moving up the tongue, just black laces out of the box, no extra laces. I think black laces probably look the best on this shoe. Maybe white laces if you really want that pop. But for me, black laces does the trick. And then moving all the way up, you'll see this pretty prominent, pretty out there tongue. Of course, the Kobe Mamba logo in the center. And if you didn't know, that was inspired by Kill Bill. That is meant to represent a sword in its sheath. And then at the very top, you see Kobe Bryant's signature. And the texture of this tongue, it is synthetic leather, but you do see this kind of iridescent pattern and color on top. And then inside the tongue, more storytelling. You'll see Masterpiece, and then Kobe Bryant signature again. Now, obviously, a very distinct thing about the Kobe 9, it is this very high ankle cut. And if you didn't know, this was inspired by when Kobe Bryant went to see Manny Pacquiao train for a boxing fight. And the ankle cut on boxing shoes are usually very high. So Kobe Bryant, even though he was kind of like the pioneer of introducing low-cut basketball shoes or really popularizing it, he wasn't the first one, but he really made it the norm. He was like, if soccer players don't get injured or roll their ankles all the time when they wear low cuts, why can't we do it? So he did that, but then he saw Manny Pacquiao train and he goes, why not do the reverse again? So let's switch things up again. So the Kobe 9 Elite High was born. Obviously there was a low version as well, but functionally and practically gives me like some placebo that there's something wrapped around my ankles. Doesn't actually help in terms of like practical functionality, in terms of support, but placebo wise it does help, but it can get very, very hot. Like if you're wearing the shoe to play ball in, after like 30 minutes, it starts just like steaming. It really does. I start to sweat so much around this part of my leg. I already sweat quite a bit, but especially around this area, yeah, it's hard to get used to. It is quite annoying around there. And the box of the shoe, just a Kobe box, all black. You can see like Mamba scales all over. Now cushioning wise, the Kobe 9 does come with this drop-in React foam midsole. So that's one thing that they changed from the Protro versus the original. The original had Lunafoam, and this is a much well-needed upgrade from Lunafoam. One thing I will say about this drop-in, the pattern, when you try to like put your feet into the shoe and you're wearing socks, obviously, kind of gets stuck. So it becomes like just a complete nuisance to really slide your feet in. It just takes a long time to get my feet into the shoe. That's what I'm saying. Can be very, very annoying. And in terms of performance, it is pretty decent. I don't love drop-in midsoles. I do just like the midsole kind of built into the shoe. I find it more responsive, a little bit more bouncy. Drop-ins I have found, it just doesn't give me that responsiveness that I really want. They're still decent, but I definitely wouldn't say this is my favorite type of setup. But compared to the old Lunarlon foam, yeah, it's definitely an upgrade. Now, there was some speculation when they Protroed the Kobe 9s that they were going to be Zoom Air. There's no Zoom Air on the shoe. And one thing that's also absent on the shoe is a shank plate. Now, usually if you have a like carbon fiber shank plate in the midfoot or a full carbon fiber plate, that can really help with like kinetic energy return. So I will say just in terms of like overall responsiveness, I think there are better shoes now. Yeah, the combination of a drop-in plus no shank plate and no Zoom Air, I might look for and consider something else. Now, with that said though, one of the best things about the Kobe 9, it is the traction of the shoe. So you see a rubber outsole that's got this foot mat pattern, and that's always worked very well on the Kobe 9s. Original, Protro, doesn't matter. This is really good. I will say this is not like the thickest and densest and stiffest and thickest rubber, so I wouldn't take this outdoors. And if you're taking your Kobe 9 Protros outdoors, $240, I wouldn't do it. I really wouldn't do it. But this traction has always been great. Now, they did say that they actually improved the traction of the Kobe 9 Protro, and it is very hard to find, but they did add an extra line on the medial side of the shoe. I don't know how much that actually improves the overall traction, but it was already really good. If it goes from like really good to really, really good, I guess that's always a bonus. And overall court feel, it is still decently low to the ground, so you don't feel like too separated from the floor when you're playing. That's always a good thing. Now, a couple of design elements on the midsole area. You'll see on the lateral side of the shoe, these braille-like patterns that actually says Masterpiece, and that is the Kobe Mamba code that Nike developed for him. And then on the medial side of the shoe, you'll see Vini, Vidi, Vici. That is the phrase, I came, I saw, I conquered. Something Kobe Bryant definitely did do. Now moving on to sizing, comfort, and support. I am a wide and flat footer for Kobe 9s. I stick true to size. Width-wise, I think it's fine. I think if I went down half a size, the arch area would really kind of start digging into my feet. That would really start to hurt. One thing that I do complain about for Kobe 9s is I always feel like there's a bit of dead space in the toe box area, which I don't love. It's not enough for me to like change how I size this shoe, but I do notice it, especially when you change to like another shoe that fits really snugly and definitely feel that kind of space around there. But I don't think it's too much that'll affect like overall performance. And in terms of the overall support, there's no shank, so there's a lack of support there. But in terms of lateral movement, there are these carbon fiber plates that you see on the sides of the shoe, and that really keeps your feet like in place. Every time you're changing directions, cutting, stopping, like really doing a hard stop, you do feel like really protected. You don't feel like your ankle's gonna roll out the shoe or bust through the shoe. If you just look down from like a bird's eye view, it is decently wide in terms of the base, so quite a bit of contact with the surface of the court that you're playing in, so that also helps. I will preface by saying I am a light player, and as a light player, you shouldn't have any problems with lateral containment. If you're a heavy player, like a Zion Williamson, heavy and athletic and explosive, he's already busted through like Nike shoes before, I don't know, you're gonna have to get a second opinion. I can only speak for myself as someone that is relatively light. Yeah, lateral containment and support, no issues. Now, in terms of the overall weight, it is not like the lightest shoe, especially compared to a lot of modern day shoes. So just about a pound. So compared to like the recent Harden Volume 9s that was under a pound, that wasn't like super light as well. But I don't think it's heavy enough where it can really affect performance. But I know some players do really prioritize like a super lightweight basketball shoe. If that's you, maybe look for something else. For me though, I'm a guard, I'm a light player. I really don't find this weight like an obstacle. And in terms of just overall comfort for like wearing around, just casual use, I think you're gonna find it to be a pretty comfortable shoe. There's no real issues with it. One thing though, the ankle area, because of this high cut, that might get kind of annoying unless you wear socks that goes all the way past. I don't, and I can tell you that if I wore this for like hours on end, this would definitely start to get annoying, like this rubbing against my skin. Now, usually for casual and retro shoes, I give it a soul score, but for performance shoes, I don't give it a soul score. Metrics don't really make sense. But my final and overall verdict for the Kobe 9 Elite Protro Masterpiece, I think this is a really nice looking colorway. Honestly, I think it's one of the best. I just love the heavy use of black on the shoe with enough like funkiness and boldness to make it look very different. But yeah, still very sleek. And in terms of the overall performance of the Kobe 9 Protros, cushioning wise, I think there's better options on the market. I think like ZoomX cushioning, Cushlon 3.0 are better options. This gives me a bit more of a bouncy and responsive feel. And I still usually prefer a shoe with like a shank plate. Still gives me more of that kinetic energy return when I'm exploding. But in terms of like overall support and lateral containment, really no complaints here. The carbon fiber plates does a really good job. And the best thing about the shoe, it is the traction. Outstanding, one of the best. Only the EQLZ 247 that I reviewed recently, I think only that can come close. That actually might be slightly better. Really like the traction on that shoe. But yeah, that's always been one of the best things about the Kobe 9s. So if you're a huge Kobe Bryant fan and you still want a good, decent performing sneaker, you don't mind a very high cut shoe, I think this is still a good option. Performance, especially cushioning and responsiveness, it's like your #1 priority. As much as I love Kobe Bryant, I definitely take the Sabrina 2s at half the price nearly over this shoe. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Soul Inclined. Let me know what you think of the Kobe 9 Elite Protro Masterpiece. Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. And remember, tomorrow may never come. The wear your shoes.